so far.
Like
But
Job
they
legit
talk
asked
about how
for a mediator.
yes, you know that's
Okay,
Jesus. And
okay,
the
hold on.
devotional said it
Yes,
too. I was like, yes, we were right. We were
hold on. I think it's in Job 9. I think it's in 9.
I can't remember exactly where it was, but yeah, he asked for a mediator. I mean, they talk about Jesus a few times, or like him just asking for a mediator, basically to like to state his case for him. Definitely
Uh-huh.
is Jesus, because Jesus
All
is stating our
Jesus.
case for us all the
Yeah,
time. Like he's
all the
like,
time.
you see me, God, the Father. Them what they did is paid for through me. They're good. Woo.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that reminds me. So, okay, the Levitical priesthood hasn't happened yet, or hasn't been realized yet. The Levites, I
Mhm.
think, are growing, but I don't think the
Yeah, we haven't
Levitical
they haven't
priesthood.
got to that part yet. Mm-mm.
Okay, so Job was acting as a priest for his family, and that wasn't necessarily like you had like the high priest Melchizedek, right? So you had that whole order. Didn't the like being a priest wasn't something that was just a thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like there were priests, but it wasn't the same as like Levitical priesthood that we
Yeah, I
see
feel like they
in the
didn't really
Exodus
talk
forward.
about it as much, like people who are priests. Like you said, when they talk about Melchizedek, you're like, oh, like this is like a priest. Like where did he come from?
Right.
Or I even thought it was. I mean, this is off topic, but
Mhm.
like prophets, you feel like prophets come later, but then God calls Abraham a prophet. I just caught that this time. I was like, wait, what? So it seems that they may have had those type of titles in that time, but it wasn't as, like you said, prevalent as when a whole order came
Right.
with the Levites, where it's like these people are going to be the priest and they're going to do
Right.
these things and all these rules.
Right. And the thing is with priesthood though is that um because we are sinners,
Mhm.
that like priests had to offer up sacrifices for themselves before they could offer up the sacrifice for others. And so the fact that he was offering up sacrifices for his children meant that he had already done it for them for himself. Um and so when he's asking for a mediator, it's like, wait, aren't you the
The
mediator
mediator. Hmm. But
between God and your children?
he's like, clearly though, I cannot, this is more than them just partying. Something's going on. And he's like, well, if I can't talk directly to God, he's like, I mean, clearly he was brilliant. He was like, well, if I can't talk to God because that's just too much. He's God, I'm me, I'm a little human. He was like,
Hmm.
what if there was some kind of mediator between us? When I read that, I was like, oh, he was ahead of his time.
So I'm
But
gonna read it for
yeah,
those who aren't on this year-long journey with us. This is in Job
yes.
9. I'm reading from the New Living Translation, verse 32 through 35, and it says, well, this is Job speaking. He says, God is not a mortal like me, so I cannot argue with him or take him to trial. If only there were a mediator between us, someone who could bring us together. The mediator could make God stop beating me, and I would no longer live in terror of his punishment. Then I could speak to him without fear, but I cannot do that in my own strength. And as I am reading this,
Mm, mm,
I
mm,
am
mm.
so grateful because Jesus is our
Yes,
mediator.
yes.
It's because of Jesus that I no longer live in terror of God's punishment. So,
Hmm.
as I was like
And the
reading
strength
and
part
reading,
too.
yeah, because I cannot do it for myself. Can we talk about works versus grace? Because the way that it says, um, someone who could bring us together. So I
Hmm.
talked about this
Hmm.
on my page before, but grace in Hebrew paints a picture of a three-party system. The first party being the patron, and that is the one who has the goods. Then there is the beneficiary or the person who is receiving the goods. Then there is, what is it called? There's a third party, and I can't remember the name of that third party, but it's the person who brings the patron and the beneficiary together and also pays for the goods that the patron has to give to the beneficiary. So that
Mm.
is grace.
Yes.
Jesus is the third party who not
Mm.
only brings God, who has all the goods, to us, the beneficiary who needs those goods, but has also paid for the goods to be given to us. And that's what Job is asking for here, which is really funny
Mhm.
and kind of crazy because the
Yeah.
idea of Jesus hadn't been explicitly mentioned.
Exactly. And it's like this is happening way before Jesus comes. This is like, I
And
mean,
even way
Imma just
before
guess at
prophecy.
least 1,000
Actually,
years.
I was I originally thought it was before the prophecy of Jesus, but in Genesis, well, when God is telling, Eve her curse or whatever,
Mhm.
the your seed will, like, Satan will bruise the heels, this your seed will trample on his head type deal, right?
Yeah.
So that's Jesus. We all know because it's one seed and not
Yeah,
multiple
but
seeds.
they didn't know. We know
Right.
now because of people studying the Bible for a bajillion years, and
Right.
now we know. But back then, she was like, what I read about Eve thinking about her seed, okay, I read that she thought that she was about to have it right then. She's like, "Oh, the Messiah is going to be my seed." So she thought that Cain was going to be the Messiah. I read that in her mind, because how would they know that
True.
she's thinking about all this stuff. She's just like, I just know that it's going to come through me. She doesn't know when. So she's just thinking, when I have a baby, this baby is going to save us from our sin, because she knew that she fell into sin. She's like, "Oh, okay, my seed is going to
Hmm.
take us out of this." And the person that she thought was going to be the Messiah was actually the first murderer. So yeah, little side note, but that wasn't a commentary that I
Yeah.
read.
No, that's really interesting. But yeah,
So they didn't know.
they didn't, and I
I mean,
wonder
think about the Jews. All that stuff went over their heads about the Messiah. They thought they knew,
completely,
and they had no idea.
completely. Yeah, they thought that the Messiah was gonna come and kill all the Romans. Um, but
Hmm. He might still do that.
I guess we'll
He
never know.
might. Never know.
Um, but okay,
You
what was
never know.
interesting to
I
me
feel
though
like
is
this little extender is not working.
hmm?
No, keep going.
Oh, um, I guess okay, something that, like, I wonder. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I wonder if his circumstances was what gave him a revelation of
Oh shit.
Jesus as the Redeemer.
You said you wonder
Obviously,
if
he
what
did.
about the Redeemer?
If that he got, like, through his circumstances, got the revelation of Jesus as a Redeemer, because
Mhm.
that's where we get the song "For I Know That My Redeemer Lives."
Girl, I posted that today on my
It's from
Instagram.
Job.
I was like I was like, "Y'all, if you grew up in the '90s, you know this song. For I know my." That
Right.
was my
That's
jam.
right up there with, like, "In the Arms of an Angel." It's
Oh.
right there. But
Oh
yes,
my
like,
god. But yeah, I read that verse today, and I was like, "Man, I used to be singing this song and I didn't even know about Job."
man, I'm like, the fact that that came from Job, I thought that would have come from, like, the Gospels or something,
Mm-mm.
or
No.
Paul, somebody, anybody that
Mm-mm.
ain't going through this. And it seems so random. Like, he didn't know Jesus was coming.
No, but he was hoping for Jesus to come. He didn't know it was Jesus, but he was like, there has to be somebody that can save me from, like I think he was even like, okay, if I have sinned, somebody help me out and tell me what I got to do to get right, because I ain't trying to go through this anymore." I mean, at this point he was trying to do anything. He was in agony. My dude was suffering. Like, if you think that you have gone through it, and I mean, people have gone through it probably just as bad, but I mean, if you think you're going
Okay.
through it, read Job. Read it.
For real.